We are at Meyer Dairy LLC in Sauk Center, Minnesota, located in Stearns County. On this dairy farm, we milk about 280 Holstein cattle, and we have all young stock on site as well. We raise about 800 acres of crops. The majority of those go into feed for the animals in the form of corn silage, alfalfa for haylage, and corn as grain. We do raise some soybeans as a cash crop as well, but the majority of the feed produced goes through the cattle. I am second generation on this farm. I took over the dairy in 2003 from my parents. I was 23 years old at that time, and I've been dairying here since then. My wife Tara and I do have 2 kids. Tyler is 14 and Maddie is 12. At this point, it looks like at least one of the kids will have interest in the farm, potentially both of them. They're kind of young at this age, so we'll see as things progress how their interest peaks. Our dog that's running around here, her name is Bree. She is just a pup. She was born in September of last year.
We've worked extensively with Nick and Tara on projects out here. We've done waste storage facilities, earthen basins to collect all the manure from the freestall barns, and also the lot runoff that comes from the precipitation. That all runs into those waste storage facilities. We've also done a stacking slab out here for all his pen pack manure that he can store that. I believe that's a 1-year storage. Also out in the field, we've done some grassed waterways and we've done some water and sediment basins. There's financial and technical assistance through the EQIP program to do those types of practices.
Well, the NRCS and SWCD, they provide technical assistance up front, and then they obviously have the financial assistance also for implementing the programs. So the technical process, that's where you start out, get an idea of what you're looking for, and they'll help you lead you in the right direction of what resources are available. If there's any engineering involved, they can help you with that. And then once you get all that figured out, then you can move on with the financial assistance to actual implementation of the project. In total, we've probably worked with NRCS on, I would say, close to 10 different projects over the years. The first starting in 2003. We decided to work with NRCS on these programs. First of all, I guess it was from a cost share standpoint, and then they offer a lot of assistance on design options, and just they've seen a lot of improvements over the years on different projects, so they give a lot of insight on what avenues to go down and what systems work best in scenarios that were similar to ours. They helped us design and size everything properly according to our farm's needs. They helped us develop a nutrient management plan, and based on our cow numbers, our land base, how many acres of corn we raise, how many acres of alfalfa, and just throughout the whole process, they helped us from the beginning design and engineering. They did all of that for us, and all the way throughout to see that the job was done properly. And they were on site numerous times during construction phases, and they were there to help us out through the entire process.
So how's the new stacking slab and liquid storage working out, that last project that we worked with you on?
Yeah, it's great. So before we did that project, we were actually having to pump our pit out 3 times a year. And with weather and just the timing and everything, it got to be a real challenge. So with the new upgraded capacity that we have with the new system, it's a once-a-year deal. In the fall, after crops come off, we call the manure pumpers up. They come and incorporate it right into the field after the crop has come off, and it's been great. In the stacking slab, we've been utilizing that. After crops come off, we haul all the solids out of there, incorporate them, and then after freeze up, we start stockpiling all of our manure again. And we won't haul any manure out of there until the next fall when the crop comes off, and that way we can incorporate it right away.
That's great for reducing compaction and utilizing that manure,
yep.
Getting nitrogen value
and just
out of
the composting factor as that manure sits there, for 6, 8, 9 months. The volume that's going in versus the volume that's coming out, you're probably half the volume because of the composting aspect of it. So
yeah, and just better timing for rainfall and all
Right.
that, less runoff potential.
Right,
That's
yep.
great.
If we're hauling it a couple miles away, it's less trips we have to make. The product itself is more nutrient dense.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a really good fit for us.
Glad it's working out. Good.
Yeah. We actually work with an agronomist every single year, and we keep our manure management plan up to date and making sure we're putting nutrients at the right spot at the right time in each particular field. The manure storage system is behind the barns back here. The stacking slab is right next to the manure storage basin, and the manure separation system is in the back side of the barn. Obviously, the fan, the ventilation upgrades are in the barns. The latest thing that we're doing is we're improving our grain drying system. And we are currently working with Natalie Wilwerding at NRCS on a grain dryer upgrade.
Nick and Tara were one of the first ones that came into the office for energy improvements. We did some variable speed drives on some of the fans in the freestall barn. In order to be qualified to do energy improvements, they needed to hire what is called a technical service provider. We needed to have an energy audit completed out here. Then we took a look at that. It went through all his energy usage, where he could better save energy, and then decided on what he wanted to do as far as for energy improvements. It was really flexible to do that because we could pick and choose which ones save the most energy, and then we could do those right away in the beginning if he wanted to do that.
So when we first went through the energy audit in 2012, some of the main things that we were looking at were lighting upgrades. At that time we had metal halide lights. We were looking to go to LED lighting in our barns. We have long day lighting, so our lights are on for 16 to 18 hours a day. So the energy use on those lights over the course of a year adds up pretty significantly. So any improvement we can make in efficiency, that's more dollars in our pocket. So when we went through the energy audit, they looked at our entire operation. They looked at the milking process, the transferring the milk from the parlor to the bulk tank. They looked at the cooling system on the bulk tank. They looked at our in-floor heat system that we use to keep the barns warm in the wintertime. They looked at the lighting on the entire farm, every single building. They looked at our lighting system that we have, and just any place on the farm that we were using electricity, they were looking at that and giving us opinions and options on if it's economical to do any upgrades for the amount of time that particular thing gets used, or what makes the most sense for upgrading. And based on the energy audit findings, we installed some energy efficient lighting, some energy efficiency improvements on our ventilation systems in the dairy barn. All the barns now have LED lights in them. There's a significant cost involved in putting LED lights in, but it's one of those things where it's a very quick turnaround on payback when you look at the efficiency side of things. On the lighting system, the payback, I would say, is under 5 years. And then some of the other things on the cooling, the ventilation side of things, we already had the fans in place, but we upgraded our fans to run on variable frequency drives. So they sped up and slowed down based on the temperature in the barn, the wind speed in the barn, and just overall improved their efficiency based on that factor. Without changing the fan itself, we were able to improve the efficiency of the fan and the whole ventilation system in the barn. So that is the actual frequency drive in the cabinet there that's controlling the speed of all the motors on the fans. And then the thermostat is the next post over. It's a little probe. It's just measuring the temperature of the air inside the barn and telling the frequency drive when to start, when to speed up, when to slow down. So right now the fans are running slow because the air temperature at 40 to 45 degrees, telling the drive that they don't need to be on that fast to cool the cows. So the payback on the fans on the variable speed drives is actually, believe it or not, is probably quicker than the lighting itself. In the summertime, when these fans are running full speed, they're consuming a lot of energy. And when we can regulate the speed of those fans throughout 24-hour period. There's probably on any given day there might be 6-8 hours where that fan is running full speed. The other times of the day it's running any speed lower than that based on the temperature. And then at night sometimes these fans shut off completely, where if we didn't have the frequency drives on them, these fans would be running full speed 24 hours a day.
You're pretty satisfied with the system?
Very, yep. It's tremendous energy savings. In the summertime, instead of the fans running for, 4 months straight wide open, they're fluctuating based on the temperature throughout the day. It's roughly about 40 degrees temperature here today, maybe 45. You can see the fans are running, but they're running relatively slow. The thermostat is picking up that the air temperature is warm enough in this barn to start the fans, but keep them running slow enough just to kind of stir the air. It doesn't really have to cool the cows, just kind of keep the air fresh and stirred up today. This is about perfect temperature for a dairy cow. The drives itself have been very trouble-free. There was a little bit of programming to get them set where we wanted them and get the temperature parameters set so that they're starting at the proper time, they're slowing down at the proper time, they're running full speed at the right temperature. All those parameters have to be set at installation, but once it's set up and calibrated properly, you really don't have to touch it. It's been a relatively easy winter. The temperature hasn't fluctuated a whole lot, so it's been pretty easy to keep the cows healthy, and production has been very well throughout the winter.
Good.
There's roughly 30 lights in this barn. They're all LED lights, so they're the most efficient light out there right now. They're on timers, so they actually come on at 3:30 in the morning and then they're on until 9 o'clock at night. So it's pretty important to have an energy efficient light when they're on every single day for 16 to 18 hours.
Sure.
So we first did the LED lights in 2013. We love the LED lights. I mean, they're extremely bright, they're very energy efficient. Our lights are on a timer, so they're on 16 to 18 hours every single day. So we need a fixture that's very energy efficient when it's on 365 days a year for that many hours. Total costs on it for the fixtures was right around $10,000, and we did the labor ourselves to install them. All the wiring was done already. The installation of the lights was relatively easy. We just had to wire them up, which really doesn't take that much labor. The current lights that we have now have been durable, they've been lasting a long time. When we did the audit and when they were looking at the boilers for the floor heat system, we already had energy efficiency boilers in place. So the only thing that we changed based on the energy audit for the in-floor heat system was we did put slab sensors on so that it measured the temperature of the slab itself and turned the boilers on and off according to that temperature. Instead of running 24 hours a day in a certain area of the barn, now they just cycle on and off based on that need to keep things thawed out. One of the things that they looked at throughout the milking process is to transfer the milk from the cow to the tank, it has to go through a pump. We actually have a variable frequency drive on that pump as well. So that pump is only running as fast as it needs to get that milk away and into the bulk tank. One of the other areas that they looked at was the cooling of the milk. On a dairy farm, the cooling process for the milk is very, very high energy use system. So they looked at our cooling compressor, and we already had an energy efficient scroll compressor in place. So there really was no change that was required or that they suggested us doing on our milk coolings. We have about 250 young stock on site from baby calf on up through pregnant springing heifers. We're milking about 280 cows and we have about 40 dry cows, so a little over 300 dairy cows. So in this barn we have two groups of milk cows. One side is our younger animals, more of our first lactation cows. And then on this side is later lactation, older cows. Each pen in this barn has about 80 cows in it. 160 cows in this barn, and then the barn to the south of us here has the rest of the milk cows in them.
Okay.
So we milk twice a day in a double 8 parallel parlor. The milking time itself takes about 3 hours twice a day. So 6 hours out of the day we're actively milking. We milk at 3:30 in the morning and 3:30 in the afternoon. And we've been milking at that time for probably the last 5 to 7 years. I'm a type of person that likes to start early and get done early. There's not too many days that we take off. We do have about 10 employees that come in and help with the milking process. Normally we have 3 people on for each shift during milking. Our cows are producing about 85 pounds of milk per day, per cow, and that equates to about 10 gallons. Prices right now are pretty depressed. The last year and a half have been a little lower on the milk price side of things, so economics-wise it's a little tight right now in the dairy industry.
What's your crop rotation and what kind of management are you using on some of that?
So we have corn, soybeans, and alfalfa. All the alfalfa is chopped as haylage and fed to the dairy cattle. The corn, about half the acres are used for silage. The other half is used for corn grain. And then the soybeans are used as a cash crop.
Okay.
Alfalfa is usually in for 4 to 5 years. And then once the alfalfa comes out of the rotation, we'll put corn in the following year and then soybeans for a year and then back to corn.
Okay.
So the biggest thing with going through all these programs with NRCS and SWCD is on our business, and I think anybody who's a business owner, you're always looking to improve efficiency within your business. And these are just some of the ways that we found that are relatively simple to implement, and assistance is there through these organizations. So we just really try to capture those resources and improve our business with them. So the process with working with the NRCS and SWCD, in our experience, has been a very good one. Any questions that we've had, they've always answered right away, and if we had questions that the particular person that we were working with at the time didn't have an answer to, they were very quick to follow up and find out the answer and get back to us. So all of our questions were answered in a timely fashion. The actual application and the whole process itself, it was very streamlined, it was very simple. They walked us through it from start to finish. There was really never any surprises once we got going into it. We kind of knew up front what we were getting into, and they helped us every step of the way. And both of those offices are very, very simple to work with, and a lot of the paperwork and a lot of the questions and the help, they're pulling resources from both agencies to help us out and to get us the answers we need.
In Stearns County, we've got a good working relationship with NRCS and the Soil and Water Conservation District. So we do a lot of partnering up with them to do projects. It doesn't really matter who's in the local office, if it's a Soil and Water Conservation District employee or an NRCS employee. We're all considered as one here. So I truly believe that that's a benefit to our producers, is that we've got such a great relationship with them. Nick came into our office and requested some technical and financial assistance to do some projects out here. The services that we provided Nick were, we did a lot of the preliminary survey work out here. For example, the waste storage facility. So we came out here, surveyed in the farmstead, all the barns, all the feedlots, and then we came up with a preliminary design as far as what the size of that pit would be, or that earthen basin would be, and kind of asked him on what he needs for storage, whether it's a year, 6 months, 9 months, how he handles his manure. And then once we developed those preliminary plans and everything was fine for him, then we developed final plans for him so that then he could go out and get estimates on his job. And then we went through all the scoring and ranking of the application with him to make sure that he understood what that whole process was like. Working with Nick has been great. He's always open to suggestions, telling us what he needs out here. This is a total success story here with Nick and Tara, with the things that they've done. They've done a lot, and everything's been a positive and good experience for them. Nick and Tara have been great. If someone else would like to do projects with NRCS, they need to go into their local field office and talk to some of the staff and see what is available through the Environmental Qualities and Incentives Program to do projects like this. We would sit down with them, come up with what their needs are, and then we would provide alternatives to them and then it would be their decision to decide on what avenue they would like to proceed.
So if any other dairies are looking at making improvements or upgrades like this, one of the first places I would recommend them starting is going to their local NRCS and SWCD office and asking them what kind of assistance they could help them with or what kind of programs are out there for them. We're always striving for maximum efficiency, but along with that goes, we're always looking forward to the next generation. We have 2 kids, they ever decide that they want to come into this operation, take over. We want to make sure that the land, the cattle, the facilities are in a position for them to come in and take over and keep the operation going. And we always like to say we like to leave things better than when we found them.